All right, TJ, here we are at the Kingdom in Carlsbad, California, TaylorMade. I mean, how did we get here, man? This is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's, well, we got here by plane, but we actually did drive a golf cart here. But how did we get here, honestly, and like over the past 18 months has been incredible to be, you know, the official golf cart of TaylorMade, or, you know, being partnered with TaylorMade and the Kingdom. And, you know, it's just been phenomenal. The past, 18 months has been incredible. The past 12 months of knowing you and you working with us on our social media. And, we've got a lot of attention from a lot of different brands and partnerships. And, you know, just it's pretty incredible just to be here.
Yeah, so obviously you've got a really decorated past with big roles at Walmart and Pepsi, and you've been in that corporate world. When you first took the step had the idea of potentially starting EA Karts, being in a crowded industry where a couple of players kind of dominate the space, like what avenue did you see where you're like, hey, here's a real opportunity where, you know, I could find success and make a footprint in the golf industry, not really being from the golf background?
Yeah. I mean, I think the guy that was fitting me would definitely agree that I'm not from a golf background. But yeah, honestly, there was a gap in there that I seen. I personally wanted a golf cart, and the whole inconvenience for me of having to go to the dealership and pick out one, like if I want an outfit, I'm going to go online, I'm going to order it, and even if I don't know what I want, I'm going to order 2 or 3 of them and have them shipped to my house. I'll send whatever back. And, you know, it's just really quick and easy, less decisions you got to make. And when I went to go get a golf cart for myself, you know, I had to pick out all these options. I had to go through this whole process, and then I had to negotiate and I had to do all these things, and it was just like overwhelming. And then when I did decide to make the purchase, I stopped myself because it was like $20,000+, and I was like, there's got to be a better way. And, you know, so I, went and sourced some materials and some of the factories to understand like the parts and the structure of manufacturing to be able to get my own and build my own. And so I had my team do that, and found that we could do it a lot cheaper and inexpensive and have all of the options we wanted. So that's how like it got to the point for me, is just to be able to do that whole piece. But really where I seen and how I started a business was everybody thought it was pretty cool, the golf cart was, and I told them how much I paid for it, and how little time it took to put together and everything. And everybody's like, oh, I want one. So I was like, all right. So we ordered a few, and then next thing we ordered a lot. Well, how it got all started is really, kind of even the TaylorMade thing is, so I've always been impressed with these social media brands that have really just taken off by promoting their brands and doing these creative things. And you look at like Poppy just sold for, $2 billion to Pepsi, and I've worked at Pepsi, and, they bought Rockstar, they bought Celsius, they bought a stake into that, but it's all social media brands and getting attention. And so I was like, well, if we start a golf cart brand, I want to do it through social media, because, the other 2 players are not doing anything in the social media space. And so then we looked at that, and then that's how we started the brand. So we partnered with, one influencer, then that led to another one, and then there was like 30, and then here we are with TaylorMade.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I mean, obviously your golf background, we talked about it. You just started picking up golf just like less than 5 years ago or so, right? And taking it obviously more serious now, but here you are today getting fitted at the Kingdom. But just in this short time, you've partnered with the biggest names in golf. I mean, obviously TaylorMade here, huge golf company, have elite staff of tour pros, including Tiger Woods. Your name's right up there next to him in the locker room.
That's pretty
cool. But you've also worked with, Grant Horvat, Good, Micah Morris, a variety of different people. Obviously, LIV Golf, you had Cam Smith, Phil Mickelson, all these players riding your golf cart. I mean, I have to imagine 15 months ago, maybe even 12 months ago, those things would never even have crossed your mind, right? I mean, it's unbelievable how fast you've grown and the reach that you've been able to accomplish on social media alone. Yeah, no, I could have never planned this out, I guess. But I think what's cool is, and probably it's a downfall at the same time for me, is even being here and enjoying this moment and partner with them. It's like, all right, cool, what's next? And I think that's what continues to drive our business so much. Is like, it's very fascinating to do this, be a part of these brands, but. I want more, because I think I see the value in us bringing it to other parts, like, for example, golf courses. Like, I was never trying to get into golf courses, and here we are negotiating a 240 cart fleet deal. And I would have never thought, I didn't even want golf in my copy when I first made it. In the first 30 days, there was no golf in my copy of my website. Yeah. And so golf was never supposed to be part of the path. But it's been impressive of
that whole reach and how social media and working with all these partners and the reach that we can get. And, and I think at the end of the day, you got to have a great product first. And so that really has helped. We got a great product and a great, brand behind it. We make it simple for people. And that whole process has really obviously been the backbone of it. And then from, getting the exposure is working with all these brands, and they get the chance to see how cool the product is and how simple, the whole process is, and that expands.
Yeah, you spoke about product. It's obviously bold, it's rugged. People,
Yeah.
they see it, they get energized. The 4x4 model is incredible. And some of the stuff that you've done, shoots with that, has just been really fun. But I think it really comes down to service as well. Obviously EA Karts is exceptional when it comes to customer service. It's always about red carpet, white glove service, making sure the customer is right, always right. You're taking care of them, they're top of mind. So walk me through a little bit of that approach. Did that kind of come from what you kind of were, you grew up in the corporate world to carry over? But is that kind of the main thing that drives the business, is making sure that customer focus is number one, to make sure they're always taking care of them?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I don't know if this was fortunate, but I was pushing carts at Walmart when I was 16 years old, and I ended up being there for 18 years. So, and that was in Indiana, where it was, we had winters and everything else, and so that was pretty brutal first job. But then I was able to come inside the store and work in various customer service jobs, and end up making a career out of it. Was a store manager, and was very fulfilling. But Sam Walton was definitely the influence behind the customer service, and really he just had no option but to take care of the customer. And as big as the corporation is now, obviously people they get bad name or whatever the case is at Walmart, but at the end of the day, they were very customer first focused, and from a management and hourly perspective, that's all they taught you. So that's literally all I knew, is to take care of the customer. Otherwise, the customer is the only person that can really fire you if you own the company, and if they stop buying from you, then you have no choice. And it only takes, as fast as we can grow it to get here in 18 months, one customer bad experience can wipe it all out. And keeping that in mind, and really it's just I think it's an energy thing for me, is when the customer calls, and being able to take care of them over the top is it's definitely fulfilling, and you usually end up getting more exposure from them, and they're happier because you just went over the top to take care of them, and it's fun, and it's just part of our culture that we've developed.
Yeah. All right, so coming in from the corporate side of the world, stepping into entrepreneurship, obviously it hasn't all been glitz and glamour. It hasn't been always easy, and what you see on social media isn't typically what you always get, right? You're seeing the highs and lows of running a company as the founder, CEO, going through a cap raise. Walk me through what that process has been like, and maybe any advice that you'd have for other people looking to take that step when they have an idea and bring it into fruition.
Yeah, don't do it. No, honestly, I wouldn't say that. Actually, it is a struggle. I think you learn a lot about yourself. The past 6 months, I've actually been, I've drank from the early age of when I'm not supposed to, probably, to 6 months ago, but I stopped drinking over the 6 months because of, just really wanted to be locked in the whole time. And I think that's probably the message that I would tell somebody, is if you're going to do it, you have to do it. You have to be locked in, you're with everything you have, 24 hours a day, because there is, last night I was, up until 2 a.m., just sending emails and following up on stuff. So the struggle is real. They talk about all of those, pieces of the puzzle that it takes, from building a team. You usually bring in your friends in to help you at first, and then you realize that they can't help you, and so you have to make the tough decision and fire some of your friends, because what you start out with is typically not what you're going to end with.
Sure.
And so doing all that whole piece, that's very emotional. And so staying locked in is very important. So I think stopping drinking was what helped me and kept me focused. Especially these past 6 months, and the reason these past 6 months have been tough, is you brought up about the cap raise, is the fun thing about getting to a point where being here at the Kingdom and TaylorMade and having this partnership is great. But there's a lot of exposure that goes with that. So the great part of the exposure is you get more sales, right? To get more sales, you have to have more infrastructure, and raising capital is not necessarily the easiest thing. And I think I have 4 or 5 clips from Airbnb, from Jeff Bezos, and even some Elon Musk clips of around raising capital and how hard it is, and that's the truth. It really is that hard, because you have to really sell the whole business and an idea, and we're so early on, and most people that raise capital real easily, they've got they've been 4 or 5 years into business, and they get to this point. Here we are, we're 18 months, so there's not a whole lot of pass for them to look at, and P&Ls they can only look at 1 full year of P&Ls, and that makes it a little bit more of a challenge. But staying locked in is a must to be able to accomplish this stuff. And then I think just having the grit.
So starting company, being CEO, it can be lonely sometimes at the top, especially if you are bringing in friends or you have a smaller team and they have their defined roles and responsibilities, but you've got to make the decisions and you're wearing multiple hats. And if you're raising capital, it might take your eye off the prize a little bit of just day-to-day operations and running the business or pursuing more opportunities. What have you learned through your corporate life, or maybe what you're tuning into now, or you're looking for guidance or inspiration, or if you have anybody that is kind of a thought leader that you follow? Walk me through some of that as you go through day to day as a founder and CEO to help you kind of align yourself in the right direction.
Somebody I look up to, and it's Gary Vee. I don't think I've missed one of his podcasts.
Really?
And he puts out a lot. I've definitely missed his post that he has because he posts so much. But I'm a huge Gary Vee fan, and he really, just because he's just really blunt. And at the end of the day, one of the things I always said is, like, everything's figure outable. Like, even your worst situation, you'll figure it out, and if not, you'll figure that out. And that's really helped me out. But Gary Vee has been a big inspiration, and just really our whole marketing play of content and doing things like this and partnering with different brands and trying different things and not being afraid to fail. That's probably one of the more successful things for me, is like I gained so much confidence because I'll try something, and if it doesn't work, then I'll move on. It doesn't really hurt my feelings to do so. And I think my early years in corporate America, I can always go back, and at that point I made more money than I ever should have in the first place, and so my worst case is still better than what I probably should have ever made anyway. So. Yeah.
So with all the people that you've worked with over the last 12 months, and now with this partnership, announcement coming out, what's in the mix for this new year? I mean, obviously you just kind of touched on kind of looking into new verticals of working with golf courses where that might not have been into the mix earlier on, but from a product perspective, obviously there have been a few releases over the last 12 months that weren't in the initial inventory. Walk me through some of those product lines, and then also if there's anything else kind of coming up here on the roadmap that people can look forward to seeing. Yeah,
so obviously our 4x4, that was an addition to that, and then the golf bikes, which we have some here at the Kingdom too, so that we'll be able to rip around here. That's pretty cool. And then probably the one that kind of goes into the next vertical is really the 2-seater golf cart. And it's actually course ready. It's got turf tires. They got one here as well. And then really looking at that whole, green grass, vertical for us was, again, not something that I wanted to get into. And even now, like, we're going to be very selective on what we do get into. So more of a prestige and boutique type, feel when we go to some of these country clubs that are very high end and they want more of a custom and dedicated customer service. That's why they're working with us. And we have one in Texas, which is, one of the top courses in Texas that, we're negotiating a big deal with about 240 carts for that whole piece. So that's the next path of this. And then at that point, you have product market fit, and whether it's direct to consumer, we've tried it in retail, and then now in this green grass perspective. And then it's really just like fine tuning all of those, and that's what the capital raise is for as well. And then one of the biggest things when you're direct to consumer is really around trust in the brand. And working with partners like TaylorMade, and whether it's the Rippers and Cam Smith or Grant Horvat, so like that's the trust part of it. And then really it's the free shipping, right? Shipping's so expensive, and so we offer some good deals. But really, from a cost perspective for us, we want to be able to get to a point where we can offer free shipping. And to be able to do that, we have to open up 3 more locations: one in Arizona, one in Texas, and then one in Florida. And once we open up those, then at that point we'll be able to offer free shipping to everybody, nationwide. And that's the goal.
Yeah. So, one thing I love about you personally, and that people don't know or see behind the scenes, or on social media or outward facing, but behind the scenes, some opportunities that presented themselves last year that I think most people would see as impossible. Like LIV Golf opportunity, right? So this is something that was like, less than 30 days out.
Yeah.
They were launching the duels to try to compete with the Creator Classic, and they needed custom carts for a variety of teams that the team captains, along with top creators, would be rolling in, and they needed them done in a short window, shipped down to Miami, and ready to go.
Yeah.
And you don't look at things as, you don't look at roadblocks or get caught up in the red tape of stuff. You're like, no, we'll do it. Let's go. And not only did you execute on that, those carts were phenomenal. I mean, they made the show. They were awesome. All the players were raving about it. Most of them were gobbled up by the teams themselves.
Yeah,
right?
They bought them, yeah.
But like, that's how you've operated right out of the gate. And obviously some of that can come with mistakes that you learn from, and you've grown from those. But you look at things that most people would kind of shy away from as too big of an opportunity, too many areas that you could fail, maybe tarnish your reputation.
Yeah.
And you've just been bold with the decisions that you've made, which I admire quite a bit. And I think it's helped you get to where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it'll catch up with me at some point.
Well, even like, one of the thing I'll mention too is the good opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So like they live stream and they do a lot of stuff with their matches, and they've obviously expanded more out to do some of these events where they have live people there, or people live watching them, or they're, broadcasting it, wherever on YouTube, or they've done stuff with Peacock. But you helped build their mothership, right? And they had some makeshift thing that they were doing that was awfully difficult for them to really operate and get what they needed to accomplish. But you guys put something together in short time, got that down to West Palm, and I know their crew was just like, wow, this is like,
they call it the mothership. They named it that day, and with no camera experience or anything, we hooking all this stuff up and everything. I don't know. We just, I don't know how we. We won't turn away any opportunities that, it really, it's like, that was a favor for them as well, because they wanted to accomplish, something bigger that they hadn't done. But the LIV Golf one, you'd have to add, it was only 30 days, plus we had to, wrap them and then re-wrap them because it was the wrong graphics that they had sent us. But, so it was really like 15 days that we were able to pull that off. And, but that, again, was a favor that led into a lot more things. And it honestly is just like, at the end of the day, like trying something like that was, an opportunity. If you said no, you would just never get it again, I would think.
Sure.
And, but if you said yeah and you pulled it off, then like it was going to just go, massive. So, and if I was going to screw it up, then I'd be right where I was at. So I don't know. I didn't really see the risk of anything. And then, I'm pretty confident that we can do just about anything. And then, again, that goes from trying things and failing and being okay, and coming out of nothing really bad has ever happened, and
you can't break it too bad.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think that's people get in their own way by thinking that, and just like I said before, is my worst case scenario is having to go back to corporate America where I was doing really well, and not that there's anything wrong with the corporate America world. It's like it's not for me at this point in my life, because I just see so many other opportunities that fascinate me. Business. I like to play golf, but business is really my golf. That's my sport, and I enjoy it. And it goes to the customer service and taking risk, and and it's paid off for us. And we have a lot to do over the next 12 months with raising this capital and opening these buildings, and expanding into more partnerships and getting into these golf courses. So we got plenty to stay busy, and plenty of things to figure out.
Yeah, so today's been an unbelievable experience. I've always wanted to come here, and I just always wanted to come here, let alone get fitted.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable for both of us. I know both of us aren't elite golfers, but this was just an incredible experience just to be here alone. But the partnership with TaylorMade, walk me through a little bit of what that means to you, and just what you felt about being here today, the experience that you went through, and just to have these carts delivered. I mean, they're beautiful carts.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a. It's very a pinch me moment, I guess you could say, of like, holy, we're here with arguably one of the top brands in all of golf. And when you think of golf, and somebody had to say 3 brands, it's guaranteed to be in that conversation. And so for us to be here and being a partner with them is just phenomenal. And I think it's going to do a lot for the company's growth, and really like the other partnerships that we're going to be able to accomplish over the next year. With being a partner with TaylorMade is going to open up a ton of other opportunities. I work with other brands, which is really going to be able to help more other brands grow their own brand, and then for us to tag along with them, and then which is going to get a farther reach for our entire business, which is going to grow into more courses and such. So I think it's really going to be a huge lift for our business over the next year, and it's going to be very interesting to to see what this brings, because I think as we partner with these other brands, what are some of the things we can do? But to be able to work with Mike and his team, and it's a big advantage because I get to see what they get to do with their content and how they do it. So it's almost like a behind the scenes. I'm actually get to be a part of the brand, and plus I get educated at the same time. Yeah. And so I think, I'm very big on, taking advice from a lot of people. And so we've had conversations about how they run, their social media and their branding stuff. How can I take that back to mine? And I think that's where people miss, is they look at it as just like a one-sided partnership. And for me, I look at it as like, this is a business opportunity. This is education for me. They've done it. They've started. They were once small, and now they're massive. Yeah. And that's what we're looking forward to doing. And taking this away from the competition, this partnership, and then the golf course taking it away from the competition is going to be huge, and I think it'll get some attention, and it's a pretty bold move.
Absolutely. No, man, I'm proud of all the things you've accomplished. It's been great working with you, man. So,
appreciate it. I want to thank TaylorMade for this opportunity. It's going to be an incredible lift to our business, and I look forward to the next few years and many more with TaylorMade as a partnership with the A-Carts.
And after the fitting, your games can be dialed, so watch out for TJ on the course.
Yeah,
he's a sandbag.
That's right.